Okay, then I come to the kind of second part of the three of my questions.
Mhm.
Yes, I believe that you already mentioned somehow through the ASCE activities. Civil engineering is quite a big responsibility for sustainability issues, SDGs or carbon neutral, whatever it is. What is it? Yes, probably not the ASCE opinion. Your opinion as a civil engineering or civil engineers, how do we need to tackle the global issues? Especially, I believe this kind of issue need a international collaboration. I think you have mentioned most of the ASCE activities, but you have been focusing on the United States, American interest. This is what I felt. How do you think, yes, as a civil engineer responsibility, how do we need to tackle those global issues, SDGs, and especially what kind of international collaboration we need?
Well, you're exactly correct that we have a global problem. Yes. And we as civil engineers on a global level need to collaborate and cooperate in ways that help move not just our profession, but our societies into what I refer to, of course, as the 21st century. It's not uncommon for individuals to continue to function for many years after the new century, much like they were in the old century. So what I advocate for, and in large part what ASCE advocates for, is that we need to abandon the ways of the past, because in many cases they were wasteful and inappropriate. And we need to come up with new materials, new design approaches, new concepts, a new paradigm about how we build systems. I go back to what I mentioned before about doing the right job. That's a really matter of being educated to the point where you can talk with your client and explain that while it will cost them a little more money on the front end, the initial capital cost, the long-term cost is less. The life cycle cost is less, either by making the system, and I use the word system because it's, again, an integration of civil engineering and other engineering fields and even other sciences. But this system now, instead of being designed for 25 years or 50 years, needs to be designed for 75 years or 100 years. And it has to be done in ways that's respectful to the planet. It's got to be done in ways that has net zero embedded carbon. It has to be done in ways where the materials can be reused and recycled at the end of life, not simply landfilled or offshore. And it's going to require new thinking. It's going to require collaboration. It's going to take us as engineering societies to develop a global voice, to educate the individuals, the policymakers and the deciders at the global level. And of course, now we're talking about World Health Organization, National Sciences, Academies of Science, the UN, not just our discrete governmental bodies. And the collaboration between JSCE and ASCE, as well as other organizations, something that we need to work together and foster. ASCE, for example, this year reached out, and we've developed a strong collaboration with the Canadian Society for Civil Engineers. In fact, I spoke at their annual conference. And coming from that, we're working with them on climate change issues and sustainability issues. And they actually are one of the organizations that are talking about funding or helping to fund advance our frozen city. So developing those kinds of collaborations. We have collaborations in South America. In fact, the Pan American Union of Civil Engineers of UPADI, the chair of their sustainability program happens to be an ASCE member. And the vice chair of that sustainability program also happens to be an ASCE member. And in fact, we have a number of members there. So we're working with UPATI. We're working with WFEO on programs, and we'll continue to do that. And then we have reached out and are beginning to make develop relationships in Africa because of the issues they're dealing with, the extreme droughts and the food insecurity. So ASCE is reaching out. ASCE is looking to develop those international collaborations. In fact, going back to the report card, we have 3 South American countries that are going together and work with us to develop a South American report card on infrastructure. So the programs we have are adaptable and can be easily deployed, and ASCE stands ready not to run those programs, but to help facilitate our brethren and our sistren to sistren. Our brothers and sisters. Saying sister doesn't sound right. I apologize. But anyway, we're looking to help the other societies create programs if interested, and certainly share lessons learned in a way that makes implementation a lot more effective, both in terms of cost and in terms of impact.
I see. Yeah, in fact, at JC, we have learned from ASCE. I mean, the report card, we put that different wording, but we have started very similar schemes. And I believe that is very good concept to make the ordinary people aware of the importance of the maintenance of the infrastructure. Okay, so seems to be ASCE have been doing various international cooperation in the various issues, especially those sustainability-related issues. All right. Can you say a little more about some outcomes? You mentioned that you have some collaboration or helping African countries. What kind of the outcome have you made so far?
Well, the impact, the outcomes of the international projects we have, it can be characterized in a number of ways. One way to characterize it would be that we have ASCE members in 177 countries. Another way to characterize it would be that some of our collaborations have moved outside of just the engineering realm and have moved into maybe the industrial realm. The one I point to in particular, though we have several models, several examples, but the Offshore Technologies Conference that we're co-sponsor. We have a group of civil engineers that help steer and develop that program each year. Offshores is effectively the petrochemical industry. And I had, again, the honor to attend this year in Houston, Texas. And at that conference, every major oil company in the world was present, with the exception of one. And every major industry related to oil production, oil processing was there. And that gave us a platform to talk with the oil industry about things like sustainability and net zero carbon, and how we transition from a petrochemical foundation as an energy source, because petrochemicals can be used a lot of things. Pharmaceuticals, plastics, a number of materials that aren't combustible or aren't used as combustibles, aren't used as an energy source. And I can report to you that conference has been very successful, and that this year the information came back with the work that we've been doing with the industry through this conference. BP has challenged itself to reduce its carbon footprint by 50% on or before 2030. That the industry, the petrochemical industry today, is ready to support today a hydrogen economy, moving from petrochemicals over into hydrogen as a fuel source. That industry stands ready today to switch from building oil rigs to building wind farms offshore. And they have the technology that will bring that energy from offshore to onshore. And it takes very little modification. And again, we're talking about wind farms that are in deep offshore areas. We're talking about platforms that are not too dissimilar from those used for oil drilling rigs, floating rigs, capable of doing exactly the same thing. So the petrochemical industry has not been sitting back, by and large, the majority has not been sitting back and waiting for all the oil to be used or fighting the idea of climate change, though that may have been the case in the past. They're ready to make the change. And I'm not saying that ASCE is the only reason this conference exists. I'm not saying that ASCE is the only reason this change in the industry has occurred, but we certainly have been part of it.
I see. Thank you. Yeah, I continue question related international collaboration issues.
Sure.
Yeah, we have the ASEC, Asian Civil Engineering Council, and ASCE is a part of member. Even though yes, we have the Asian, so a majority of the member is Asian regions. But of course, we have the ASCE from the beginning. Can I hear why ASCE try to be part of the ASEC, which is a rather Asian continent, apart from the North America?
Well, actually, you've already said it. We can't. In fact, we must get engaged internationally, and I don't mean just us. We each need to work internationally, collaboratively, and the reason we are part of this and many other organizations. In fact, later in about 10 days, I'm going to be in India at CCAR, which is again part of this international liaison that we have. And we have liaised with government agencies as well. We have relationships not only in India, but in Saudi Arabia and in United Emirates and Egypt. But we just have to. We just have to deal with this issue collaboratively, because no one of us is going to have all of the answers. No one of us is going to be the only solution. And while the issues in the United States or the Americas, Canada, South America, Mexico, may be different than in Asia or Europe or Antarctica, we still need to be addressing them collaboratively. We need to be sharing those resources, because what you do JSCE, I was trying to decide whether I could say the words or not. What JSCE is doing is right in line, in parallel with, in collaboration with what we're doing, as are these other organizations. And it gives us an opportunity to share those lessons learned. It's essential for all of us to be engaged, and we don't look for place. And the other piece to that, I'm not saying this is what you were asking, but the other piece to this is I want to make sure everybody understands. We don't want to be running the show. We just want to be part of the show. We don't want to be dictating. We're not in a position to dictate. It's not even appropriate for us to think we could dictate how to do things in other countries. But it is an opportunity for us to share. If there's a question that goes unanswered, maybe we have that answer. And at the same time, of course, as I suggested earlier, there's a lot we can learn from our international, from international civil engineers.
Yes,
we just have to be. We just have to be part of these organizations.
Yes, yes, I understand. I also fully agree with you.
Yeah, I know you do.
And but at this moment, probably, ASCE is the most international influential organization, but still, I believe domestic organization. Then ASEC, majority is Asia. And also you mentioned earlier, you have some civil engineering association in the American continent. But it does not cover full world for civil engineering. Do we need such scheme or international organizations for civil engineering?
That's an interesting question. And it's one I can argue both ways. Certainly, if our organizations, JSCE, CSCE, ASCE, and the variety of other organizations globally can't come together and work collaboratively, yet maintaining our discrete needs and addressing the needs of our members back home. If we can't work on a global scale, for whatever reason, then an umbrella organization would be the way we would need to work. At the same time, if we that global organization and the relationship to it, in all honesty, I think is going to have limited impact. The reason I think it would have limited impact is that I can't speak for every place, but certainly I can envision U.S. civil engineers having a difficult time understanding or being willing to support an international organization of civil engineers, unless they're doing international work, and that's a small fraction. The goals and objectives of that comprehensive organization, that universal organization, that global organization, would likely get into a situation where things might not be applicable and not be sustainable in terms of the organization, not in terms of the projects, but in terms of the organization. The way this may not have any relevance to you, and I apologize if my analogy fails, but in the United States, in the clothing industry, we have a certain line of clothing that is labeled where you label it for its size. It says one size fits all. Now, the reality is it fits nobody. It's too big, too sloppy, too short, too long. So there is no single answer. So the term that I've come to use is one size fits none. We all are unique. We all have our specific needs. We have our specific resources. So at this point in time, ASCE and I in particular advocate for the collaborative model rather than a single society model. I see. I think the term that we use in the United States, the boots on the ground, that tactile relationship with members and the problems within discrete societies is best achieved by individuals and societies, organizations housed within that, bordered by that, but the borders need to be open. The borders need to be connected. And so I'm not sure an international civil engineering organization would provide increased success, but that's not a decision that's been made. It's not something that ASCE has discussed. And we certainly would be open to a conversation to define what opportunities might exist for an international organization.
Okay. Right. Somehow related this conversation. JC, we have somehow continuous collaboration with CCES, Chinese Civil Engineer Society. JC, do you have continuous collaboration with?
We have some collaboration, but in all honesty, we're envious of the collaboration of JSCE. And I guess I can air a little bit of our dirty laundry here in this regard. 10, maybe 15 years ago, in that time frame, last decade, ASCE feeling the pull to move to global impact, tried to target the use of our resources in a way that made sense, that helped the most civil engineers have the greatest impact, so forth.
Right.
So we went to a consulting firm to give us an analysis as to where we should be focusing our energies. And at the time, Africa really wasn't coming along. We already had relationships with Mexico and Canada. We looked at South America. We looked at Asia. We looked at, and when I say looked at Asia, we specifically looked at China. We looked at India. We looked at Russia and ICE in Great Britain in their area.
Yes.
And we felt like ICE had things pretty well covered. Russia didn't work really well. And in terms of having impact, we came down to, the recommendation came down to one of two, China or India. And the ultimate decision, supported by the consulting firm that we'd hired, was to focus our attention on India rather than China.
I see.
And that's why we've been so engaged and have so many members in India, but not in China, and we don't have a strong relationship there as much as we wish we did. And certainly our relationship between JSCE and ASCE helps provide some, but it's one order. The laundry piece, the dirty laundry piece that I'll mention is that we discovered after we made the commitment that the consultant that we had hired had a conflict of interest. And in fact, once we made the move into India, they turned around and said, "Hey, what you need is this, this, and this, and for a small fee, we will provide that for you."
I see.
So
okay.
Yeah. So
all right.
So anyway.
It's a bit unfortunate, but all right. Then
it is what it is.
My last question. Yes, it's already 1 hour. So, what is your how would I say? How do I put my question? Yes. What's your expectation towards JSC or ASCE-JSC collaboration? What is the JSC meant for the ASCE?
Oh my gracious. The opportunity to work with your society, to collaborate and work with your society, is a fantastic opportunity we certainly embrace and hope will continue to blossom well beyond where we are now, because there's so many things we can do. In ASCE, we recognize that the education, the skills, the creativity, the energy, the innovativeness of Japanese civil engineers is astounding. The abilities and interests and opportunities for your members and those individuals who aren't your members but probably should be is something that we certainly celebrate. JSCE provides a strong opportunity for ASCE to collaborate and provide resources. And I would hope this is what we're doing with others, and to some degree with JSCE, is we argue there's no reason for each of us to reinvent the wheel. Again, another analogy that we often use in the States. The idea here is that if you're working on something and have developed a concept or a program then it's possible for ASCE to come in and support that program, and take from that program the best or the appropriate back for our members. And in the same regard, we offer that in exchange. So the programs that you're offering and supporting sustainable development in Asia or even Euro-Asia, and that the whole Pacific Rim is something that we would certainly celebrate and provide opportunities as an organization. Of course, we're not a consulting firm, and I'm not advancing consulting collaborations. The companies will have to take care of themselves. But we're talking about supporting information, technology, if you rather, transfer, exchange of knowledge, collaboration on issues that you've actually correctly brought up. If we move our conversation to the international level, if we partner and walk in lockstep and talk to our international delegations, I think we will have real impact. As I've told our members, or the individuals actually who aren't our members, we're stronger with you than without you. And I think that's the same as ASCE is stronger with a partnership and having an alliance with JSCE than if we did not. It is, I think, essential for us to break down the silos, the barriers, the things that keep us from sharing and collaboration. And obviously, I speak no Japanese. I've spent so language is going to be part of that problem, but we can get past that barrier. Okay. Well, actually, that's not completely true. I spent 30 minutes in Tokyo, sitting in the airport for an airport exchange, but that doesn't count. but the idea is that there's so much that you have in terms of knowledge and culture, and how we can benefit from that, and we feel that there may be things that we have in terms of technology and again programs that JSE could benefit from and take and use as your own without having to spend all of that money or all the resources in terms of human investment, human capital, time. And so I think there's a real opportunity. Actually, I think there's a real need that our two organizations look for ways to collaborate and share the resources we have for the benefit of each other. And of course, the people we serve.
Yeah, thank you very much. After hearing your responses, yeah, I'm very happy to hear, and I really want to see some concrete, some examples to have some collaboration. Yes, and of course, one of the barrier is language for us, especially. But I think we can
for
find
us
out.
Especially, you're speaking English right now, so don't tell me that's a problem.
No, not every.
I spent a month in China, and I learned just enough Chinese during that period of time. That was 3 decades ago, just enough to buy a bottle of water on the street and buy a dress for my daughters in a store. And other than shusha, I've forgotten everything. But of course, atrophy and time have worked against me. But no, I know we can. I know the language barrier is a challenge, an impediment, but it's not a wall. It's something that can be moved around or moved over, and I hope we do.
Yes, I strongly believe so. Okay, thank you very much for
spending
with us